Happy Tuesday. Yes, and it is a frigidly cold Tuesday for most people watching this right now. So come on in, pull up a chair. The Daily Dope is in the air. Howdy, gang. Yes, I'm Jeff McAleer, back once again as your host here at The Daily Dope, presented by thegaminggang.com. Today is Tuesday, January 29th. It is episode 238 of The Daily Dope. Okay, so got to point out something different tonight. This is not live. It is not. I interviewed my good friend Mark H. Walker from Flying Pig Games / Tiny Battle Publishing earlier today, and the temperature has been dropping. And if you watch the show, it's pretty obvious the Duct Tape Studios is downstairs in my basement where there is no heat. And it is starting to get really cold. I'm actually surprised I don't have condensation right now in front of me as I speak, because even my nose is cold. So the temperature is going to start plummeting. It's already really cold, but it's going to get colder. So by the time that I normally do the show, it's going to be really cold. So I don't want any part of that. So I'm actually recording this ahead of time. I am going to upload it to YouTube. So kind of strange not to have a live show. I'm usually, I'm so used to saying, oh, and there's chat available and so on and so forth. So this is not a live show. Do want to point out also, there will not be a show tomorrow because it is going to be so cold. It's supposed to be, I believe our high in the Chicago area is going to be minus 15 Fahrenheit. And we're going to get as low as minus 25. Then throw out the wind chill on top of that. So pretty scary. So I know damn well it's going to be way too cold down here for me to be doing the show. So just pointing out, no show tomorrow. Now I will be back on Thursday. It's supposed to warm up. So I believe we're going to be in, positive figures. So I had heard we may actually break a record for the coldest day in Chicago. Now I don't know if it's going to be the coldest January 30th on record, or if it would be the coldest day ever in Chicago. And funny enough, I recall I was 14 years old. I was a freshman in high school, and I was out and about on the coldest day. I believe it was the coldest day in Chicago history when it was 80 below zero. And I had actually gone to the science fiction bookstore that I had gone to all the time on Belmont Avenue near Central, and then gone to the game store, the hobby shop that I went to all the time. That was actually on Central, just south of Belmont. And I had bought Car Wars, the original Car Wars there, that came in a Ziploc bag. Not the clamshell that people argue with me all the time. No, it originally came out in a Ziploc bag, and I want to say, I think it's either $2.95 or $3.95. So there. So it'll be pretty wild. I might see the next coldest day in Chicago tomorrow. All right, that being said, so on Thursday's show, I will be reviewing The Living Lands from, for Toward Eternity, I should say, from Ulysses North America. I would be showing the book off right now. It's upstairs. I forgot to grab it to bring it down here before the show started. But I will be reviewing the source book for that. Good stuff. Just gonna give you a hint. Good stuff. Very impressive. Then on Friday's show, which was supposed to be the review on yesterday's show, I'm going to be reviewing Paper Tales from Stronghold Games. So yes, there was no show yesterday because I got home and we had no electric. It's like, what the? Yeah. So I guess a plow had taken out some lines, and the electric company was not sure when they were going to get it back up. So I actually ended up at my brother's house for the night because it was like, no, not going to hang out here where it's freezing. Anyway, okay, so I am going to get to my interview with Mark H. Walker in just a moment. Did want to once again remind everybody that this is not profit now. The gaming gang is not in it for a profit. So I ask folks to support Lil Bub's Big Fund through the Association for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals. Yes, the American Society for Prevention of Cruelty to Animals. Because this fund actually goes to special needs animals who are awaiting adoption. Unlike some charities, and even with the ASPCA, some charities, 100% of the funds that are raised do not go out to what they're supposed to go out to. This is not the case. 100% of the funds raised by Lil Bub's, can't even talk tonight. Lil Bub's Big Fund is actually granted out through grants to organizations that take care of special needs animals. So by all means, if you like the gaming gang, if you like the Daily Dope, rather than having me sit here going, oh, hey, go to my Patreon, send me money. Go over to the American Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals, make a small donation. It's held a lot better than that. Than, keeping me in cool, fresh beer in the fridge or something like that. All right, so as I mentioned previously, I spoke with Mark H. Walker a little earlier today. We talk about a slew of different games from Tiny Battle Publishing as well as Flying Pig Games. So without further ado, here's my interview with Mark. Mark H. Walker of Tiny Battle Publishing and Flying Pig Games fame, that's right, we're getting a twofer today, is joining me here on tonight's episode of the Daily Dope. Hopefully it's not too cold out there in Virginia for you tonight.
No, not
Mark.
too bad. Not too bad. I think tomorrow night's going to get down to 9 degrees, but hey, it gets warm here. It gets warm here early. By March, we'll be getting spring, so I'm not complaining.
Oh, yeah. See, now here in Chicago, it's going to be 25 below tomorrow. That's our high. Oh, no, I'm sorry, not our high. That'll be the low. Minus 15 is our high.
That's insane. And it makes it even colder since Cody Parkey missed that field goal.
Who? I don't know. Is that a former Bear?
Is he a former Bear yet? Is he?
Yeah, he will be. They haven't cut him yet, but yeah, he'll be gone.
And they signed him.
They already said they're going to get
He's
rid
one
of
of the
him.
most high-paid. Yeah, they signed him for $9 million. But that's the only downside to the season was him. I mean, Trubisky looks like he's going to be so flipping good. I'm excited.
Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed.
Fingers always. With a Bears quarterback, your fingers have always got to be crossed.
Yeah, because we've yet to ever have like a big, Hall of Fame quarterback. I mean, we've had years and years ago, like Sid Luckman, but that's only because he played for so long. Anyway, we're not here to talk football. Otherwise, we'd be talking about how the Saints got robbed.
Oh, my God. That was incredible. Yeah, that was the worst call in the history of worst calls.
Yeah, it really was. It was sort of like I had heard Ray Charles came down from heaven to say, hey, even I caught that. Even I saw that play.
Probably. We could just talk football. We don't have to talk games.
Nah, let's talk games. Otherwise, people will be tuning out right away. First off, I wanted to say, hey, thanks for being our new sponsor on War Game Wednesdays on the Daily Dope, which is presented by thegaminggang.com.
Hey, you're more than welcome. I hope it pans out. With all the money I'm paying you, it better.
Another fingers crossed on that one. All right, so Mark, we're going to talk about a couple of game companies. We're going to talk about a few different titles here. Where do you want to go first? Do you want to go Flying Pig Games with the bigger box stuff? Do you want to go with Tiny Battle Publishing with the smaller footprint?
Let's talk about Flying Pig Games. They got a lot going on right now. We have a lot going on.
Yes,
right now.
They do. We're actually going to talk about a couple of titles that are tied in to a good friend of mine, Herman Lutman. So let's start with Crowbar.
How about that?
Which is the Rangers at Point du Hoc. It is a push your luck World War II game. And when is that arriving? That's on the horizon?
It's definitely on the horizon. All the files are not yet into the printer.
Oh, okay.
So, which kind of ties in with Kursk, which remind me when we get to Kursk, and I'll mention that.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
It realistically at this point, I would say because they're at Chinese New Year now, so I'm going to say that we will have it by Origins in.
Okay.
You know, things just take a little bit quicker. I mean, they take a little bit longer when you're working with China, but it's just become a necessity anymore. The American printers the quality just isn't there, and the costs are just.
It's not cost effective.
Oh my goodness, the costs
I understand
are so high. But you know, what really slows all these kind of things up are all the extras we add. I just got in my own copy of the Kursk Kickstarter today. And not to get too orbital with your question, but maybe a lot of people don't know that it's not like the old days. It's not like all this stuff stuffed in the garage somewhere and there are elves putting it together. All this is shipped through a fulfillment company. So all these games come into a location in Florida. In Maitland, it's called Quartermaster Logistics, and a location in Canada and one over in Europe. So when these Kickstarters, or really anything we produce, comes in, they don't come in here. I mean, I've seen all the proofs and approved those and stuff. So I just got my package in today, and the amount of stuff we stuff in a Kickstarter, not only quality and component wise, but just all the extra work with expansions, extra scenarios, and all that kind of stuff. It's a blast. It's a lot of fun. They're thrilling to get, but it really slows us up because it takes a while to design all this extra stuff. And that's basically one of the holdups, has been one of the holdups of Crowbar. Herm has been working his butt off to do the extra scenarios, the two-player version, the cooperative player version, on and on, et cetera, to get that ready. But we're very close to getting that to China. I think that's a long-winded answer to your question, too. It's pretty close. By pretty close, that equates to, I really hope we have it in for Origins.
Well, it doesn't help that it used to be everything used to be put together by elves, but now it's actually gnomes.
Yeah.
They're a little slower.
They are. Elves have a higher agility, as everybody that's ever played an RPG knows. Yes,
of course.
Yeah.
But hey, you know, old school dwarves can smell gold, and gnomes can repair things really well. True. But so you've got Kursk coming out soon. So let's talk a little bit about that. It is a huge big box release. Of course, obviously, it's the German and Russian Battle of Kursk. And there's an expansion to it. I think isn't there a strategy guide?
There's that too. So the Kickstarter ships with the base game, which, like you said, like all Flying Pig games, it's a big box game. It's about the same as Night of Man in size on the outside of it. Ships has 4 counter sheets.
So we're not talking like Armageddon War size. Right.
Exactly. Armageddon War is that old school tactical size box because it's got that that pair of 22 by 34 maps in it, which are big. What we use the geomorphic maps with Kursk, so they're 17 by 22 mounted maps, really nice. But you know, they're geomorphic. The 4 counter sheets, I believe. Don't hold me to this because, as funny as it may sound to people, I've got so many games and stuff going through my head that I'm either designing, publishing, or working on developing that sometimes I can't keep all the numbers straight. Anyhow, big box, and it also comes with a boxed expansion called Tracks in the Mud, and that that has a couple of scenarios that deal with the early war on the Eastern Front, some
Oh,
more
okay.
that deal with the late war. So you get things like JS3, and then four more that deal with a war that never happened, and that was the Germans and Americans fighting the Soviets in the summer of 1945. So you actually have some American units in tracks in the mud. Uh, and then, like you mentioned, it comes with a strategy guide. There's also some special dice that people really seem to like, and there's also an action card set that comes with it. Although Kursk is not card driven per se, it is card supported. So you're moving,
Right.
typical war game, platoon level game. You're moving platoons of T-34s against platoons of German Mark IVs and Tigers over terrain, and you got line of sight and this and that. But then you also have cards that you use to call artillery attacks, enhance attacks, maybe opportunity fire when you normally wouldn't be able to opportunity fire. So it's a card enhanced game.
Right. It's just adding a little more chaos into the mix.
Exactly, Jeff. I mean, that's precisely why I like this. For example, like the op fire card, what that lets you do, you can be marked fired. So we all know, I mean, from back in the Panzer Blitz days, we've all been playing these types of games. Well, okay, well, that
Right.
tank's marked fired, so I can go run around and dodge in front of it. Well, you can't do that in the Platoon Commander series because that guy might hold an op fire card that lets him op fire even though the tank is marked fired. So it does add chaos and it adds uncertainty, and I like that. It works out really well. Plus, they're just fun.
I always dig that because that way scenarios don't play out the same exact way.
Exactly.
Even with your CRTs and that. Sure, there's the randomness there, but a lot of times it's like, oh yeah, so I use the same exact strategy. I use the same opening moves on the first 5 turns, and then I usually win. It's like, no, no, thanks. It's like I don't feel like phoning it in.
No, exactly. I couldn't agree more. And that also touches on a point. I've never been. Hey, when I play a war game or any game, I like to win. It's always a kick. Uh, but
Yeah.
I don't base playing them on competitiveness. What I like is the immersion. I like the games to tell a
Hmm.
story and to be immersive. So
Right.
I think that these cards help with that.
Oh yeah. Just I completely agree. To me, I can play a game and I can win a game, but if that game didn't really stand out, I won't remember anything about it a week or two later.
Right.
Whereas I can sit there and say, "Oh, Elliot Miller and I, we were playing Twilight Struggle, and then oh my god, and then oh this happened, that happened," and that could have been 2 years ago.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more. About a year and a half ago, one of the favorite games I loved playing was The Others, which is I believe it's Cool Mini or not, but anyway, it's a game where these monster hunters are basically, well, I guess they're hunting monsters, okay?
I would
And
think.
we had this awesome scenario. And it came down, my other buddies and I were actually playing Greg. Greg was playing the bad guy. And it came down to the final dice roll. And in this game, that I highly recommend to anybody that loves creative design, and there's lots of combat and stuff in it. Um, there's all kinds of things you can do. Well, I can increase my die roll by doing this, this, and this. So, my other friends and I would go, okay, do this, do that, do this, and I had to roll like whatever it was, 4 skeletons or whatever. Okay, they're stamped die,
Right.
and I rolled it, and I rolled the 4 skeletons. We all erupt, into this. That's so cool. And then Greg plays this card he has that said re-roll. And when I re-rolled
You're
them,
like,
I fell one
no.
short of what I needed, and Greg won the game. And you see, I still remember that
Jeez.
game. I mean, that's what's fun about gaming is creating a story.
Exactly. And a story that's going to be
Yeah,
memorable, not a story that's like, oh, yeah, I remember I was playing with, that guy. You know how that guy is. So one thing I do want to mention too is Platoon Commander is also available in. There are a few titles from Tiny Battle
Right.
Publishing that people could pick up if they're kind of curious about the system before committing to
Mm-hmm.
Kursk. They can check out one of the Platoon Commander just standard edition games from Tiny Battle.
Sure. There are times when I think I'm very clever at marketing, and then there are times when I totally screw stuff up. And I hope I haven't confused people with that. Uh, since I first introduced Platoon Commander as Sticks and Stones with Tiny Battle, every
Right.
iteration I found stuff that I wanted to improve, and I just said, "What the hell?" and I improved it. So
Sure. Right.
you can use any set of rules that I've ever written for Platoon Commander as it continues to develop, even with the first game. But each one of the games is a little bit different. And Kursk is so far the crowning jewel. Right now, I'm testing with Greg a game called The Long Road, which is set more in the 80s using a Platoon Commander system that has even surpassed Kursk, not in complexity, but just in options it gives the gamer when they're uh, tactical options that it gives the gamer. That's a long-winded
So
answer to say you're
are we
100%
are we
right.
talking
Yes,
in
people could go over to
are we
Tiny
are we
Battle and buy Sticks and Stones and see basically what the system is about. Yep.
I was going to ask, you're talking about the new design. Is that 1980s like Germany?
Yeah, it is.
Come on, Mark. That's been done to
I know it
death.
has. I know that's why I hesitate to even say that. I mean, I can remember when I designed World at War, and
Hmm.
everyone, friends I had within the industry said, "Oh man, World War III ain't going to sell." Well, son of a gun, World of War sold really, really damn well, and now it seems
Right.
like you can't walk into the closet without there being 10 other publishing companies in there that have their take on World War III. So,
Right.
um,
Right. Or their Battle of the Bulge game.
or their Battle of the Bulge game, or of course, Waterloo and all that. And I don't blame anyone
Sure.
for doing that as far as accepting publications on popular topics, because even though they may have been done to death, I'll tell you right now that if Tiny Battle publishes a Waterloo game, for example, it's going to outsell most other games that Tiny Battle publishes. It just seems that
Sure.
we
Right.
don't get tired of it for some reason.
Plus, usually I have to give credit to both Flying Pig and Tiny Battle. It's not the same old, same old. And there is a company out there. I am not going to mention them by name. I know I have joked with you at conventions about it before. That is like it's the same thing since 1974. It's like this is the 21st
Mhm.
century. We're pretty far into the 21st century.
Yep.
But I have to give credit because your companies, yes, there are some games that are more traditional hex and counter style, but you throw a lot of new wrinkles into a lot of the games.
We try to because we're just doing stuff we enjoy playing. A lot of the stuff that happened with Armageddon War, every scenario in that game, Greg and I tested and we worked through, and that Armageddon War started. Heck, really, Armageddon War started before I ever sold Lock and Load Publishing because Greg used to help me test World at War. But Greg said, "Hey, would you ever be interested in a a game that's in the near future, not science fiction, so to speak, but like Armageddon War?" And I
Mhm.
said, "Sure."
Right.
And after I started Flying Pig, he asked me if I was still interested, and we started from there. I mean, he came over with some basic rules. We came up with the idea for the counter, the administrative counter that sticks out from underneath it, the continuous activations. Um, I think we played a game called ARS the 1 hour war game or something like that. And that gave us a lot of the ideas for let's stop using die 1 through 6. Let's start using stamped dice for the
Sure.
game. So, we try to do new things, but I don't know, Jeff, that it's so much we're going, let's try new things as much as it's just things that excite me, that are interesting to me.
Sure.
If I get a design submission, and I recently did get one like this, obviously I'm not going to even state the era it's in or anything like that, but it has an 18-page rule book and a 23-page advanced rule book. I can't hardly even stay awake to read that stuff.
And most gamers these days aren't going to do that.
I don't think so either.
You know, the days of the 105-page Avalon Hill rule book are over. And I know, we talk about the graying of the hobby all the time, and there are companies out there that just don't get it. You can't stay in business if you're only going to be selling to the same exact people who are already, our age or older. It's like, it's not going to happen, folks. You're not going to stay in business. You got to kind of reinvent the wheel.
Well, I couldn't agree more. And I think there's a lot of people out there that see that, seeing it and then doing anything about it's a tough thing. But, I answered a guy on Twitter, I think it was this week or something. And I forget what the question was, but it was about, it was Katie Aidley, she has a war game blog. And and she was asking, she said, what are y'all's favorite games? And, I answered her and said, I've designed a lot of games and people like to play some of them. But of all the games I've designed, I'll tell you the 2 games at our house that are just about worn out, and that's Exploding Kittens and Dixit. I don't know if you've ever played Dixit, but it's just...
I have not played it, but I'm familiar with it. And yes, I have both the safer work and the not safer work editions of Exploding Kittens.
Right. I've heard about that. I've never played the adult version, so to speak. I got one of the Kickstarter ones, and honestly, if I had one of the cards
with the meowing box, you got the meowing box, right?
Yeah. Heck yeah.
Me too.
I did. But I'm gonna say
it's right behind me.
It's tremendous. I'm gonna say that, if I had to guess how many times I've played that game, it would be 50. At least 50 times.
Oh, yeah.
And the same thing with King of Tokyo. Have you ever played that? Yeah.
Of course.
I mean, I still love war games. I still love playing them. And I've got all kinds of people that live around me that love playing them too. Mm-hmm. But the thing is, that really hurts war games is 99% of them are 2-player, right?
Right.
So 99% of the time when we have folks over to the house, we're more than 2 people. So, Exploding Kittens.
Well, and strangely enough, and maybe it's, maybe I'm wrong in this, but the way I've almost always seen it is there are a lot of people out there who only will play conflict simulation games. That's it. Strangely enough, people who tend to be game designers, even war game designers, they play a wide range of genres because that's where they kind of get some of their ideas for new games.
I agree a lot. I know, I'm trying to think of designers I know well enough that they talk with me about the designs. And off the top of my head, there would be 3 people. It's Herman Lutman and Uwe Eichert, and then Byron Collins. And I know all 3 of those people play everything. From Euro games to role-playing games to strategy games, card-driven games, deck building games, the whole 9 yards, and
Oh yeah,
video games.
I know Herman does for a fact because he emails me all the time. Hey, what do you know about this game? Or hey, have you picked up this game? We've been playing the hell
Yeah.
out of it. And I'm like,
I hate talking to Herm because almost every time, and I probably talk to him once a week, he's got some great new
end up
game
spending
that he's
money.
played, and I end up going out and buying it.
Right. Exactly right. He's putting you in the
Yeah.
poorhouse. All right, moving right along. So we've talked about Kursk, we've talked about Crowbar. Let's talk a little bit. You've got actually, I believe they're arriving now. You've got some old school
Oh,
tactical
heck yeah.
expansions. So we've got Stalingrad, and then we have
Ghost Front.
oh gosh, there you go. Thanks. I knew it was Ghost. I was like,
Yeah,
what's the second word? What?
Yeah, Ghost Front was, well, Stalingrad will come in with Crowbar. The way we do that, we rarely
Okay.
run pre-orders. And I mean, I could
Right.
do a whole interview about how I decided to get away from that type of stuff. We will run some pre-orders. I mean, right now we have Yacht 12 on pre-order, and we have um, Stalingrad.
Tango Down.
Well, yeah, but that's Tiny Battle, but same idea
Right.
there.
We'll get to it.
Tiny Battle has
Right.
50 published games and has one on pre-order. Where there are some companies out there that have 50 games on pre-order and 3 published. Wait, 3 published.
Right.
And more power to them. I don't care. It's my job isn't to be the game police or anything. But
Right. That's
yeah.
my job.
So no, Ghost Front is the one that's coming in with Kursk. So everyone that got the Kursk Kickstarter and also ordered Ghost Front will get it at the same time. Stalingrad is coming in when we ship Crowbar. We'll also print Stalingrad, and it'll come over. Ghost Front is one of the most beautifully named games. Shane, that was a brilliant name for the game, and it has a lot of really clever scenarios in it. That's a lot of fun. For anyone that doesn't know, if you see the cover, you probably would guess, but it's about the Battle of the Bulge. And it's an expansion for Old School Tactical Volume 2. And
Right.
comes with a new board, winter board, new units, has SS units for people that are into the SS, has American units, yay, for people that are into the
I
American.
was like, people are into the SS.
Yeah.
That didn't sound right.
Yeah.
Sounded a little strange. If you really dig the SS, I mean, if you know,
Yeah.
you're gonna like this
Yeah.
game. It's like,
Don't
what?
get me started on that subculture within the.
No, we're not going there.
But yeah, so anyhow, Ghost Front is shipping. Complete sheet of counters, a scenario book, one of those massive, beautiful, old school tactical boards that only Shane could make. I couldn't tell you how many scenarios off the top of my head. Let's just say a lot. It may be 12, but I can't tell you how many are in Kursk either. A lot, maybe 15. I give up. So anyway,
Right.
that's that. Yeah. And while we're talking old school tactical, the Old School Tactical Volume 3, which will be the Pacific Theater.
Yeah, I was gonna mention
Yeah,
that.
sorry. Did I jump the gun? You want me to wait?
No,
Yeah.
go ahead. No, I'm just saying I know what you're gonna talk about, so I'm like, yeah, because I wanted to get to this as well.
I mean it looks awesome. Okay. And it will be running the Kickstarter for that as soon as we get the files for Crowbar off. So we'll ship Kursk, get the files for Crowbar into the printer, and then we'll be running the Kickstarter for it. So if somebody wants, well, what are you saying? I would say that by the end of February at the absolute latest, maybe as early as mid-February, we'll run the Kickstarter for that. But about 10 days out, we'll really start publicizing it and whatnot. It will be the same as Volume 2 in that the base game will come with several sheets of counters, and they're really awesome looking counters.
Yep, big chunky ones
Big
too.
chunky counters, big chunky, very easy to pick up. That's what I like about the chunky counters. It 16 scenarios, if I remember exactly correct. Of course, it's a complete game. It's not an expansion, so there'll be complete old school tactical
Right.
rules, but it will have the new rules for the Japanese. It'll include Marines, American armor, Japanese armor, different types of Japanese troops, including naval forces, army forces. Uh, just an absolutely gorgeous map. The Kickstarter itself will have stretch goals that include a full boxed expansion. Yeah, I can't wait. I've already tested one of the scenarios myself. Shane's always testing. He's been testing about a year on it. Uh,
Sure.
and it's going to be for me. I really enjoy West Front. I'm not a huge East Front fan, so I liked Volume Two. I like playing Volume Two quite a bit, and I'm really looking forward to Pacific Theater. I think people are going to enjoy this a lot. We will have amphibious assaults, the whole 9 yards.
One thing that I find too is that on a tactical level, we find the Pacific Theater pretty
It
underserved
is.
as far as games out there. And I'm really surprised because there are a lot of battles that were very pitched battles, very
Mhm.
back and forth. And I'm really surprised to see that we don't have a combat commander is like the first thing that pops in my head. I don't think there's a ton out there unless we start going way back to old, squad leader
Yeah.
stuff.
And I had that Combat Commander game, and I sold it too, which pisses me off. But um, I'm a big Combat Commander fan. Um, anyhow, yeah, there's the ASL one, which I never played, and
I didn't either. I remember I saw them, but I never picked them
well,
up.
the last game I ever designed for Lock and Load was Heroes of the Pacific. So I know there's a
Oh,
Lock and
that's right.
Load Pacific Theater game too. I don't know. I can't think of
Okay.
anybody. One of the things I think with that could be, you have squad level games. Everybody's watching this that watches this. I'm sure knows what that is, and you have platoon
Mhm.
level games. And
Right.
take the West Front of World War II. Well, you can have squad level and platoon level there. It makes total sense. There's certain different battles you can have, but I think that if you go to the Pacific Theater, you can have squad level games, great squad level
Mhm.
games, but
Oh
platoon
yeah.
level games in a Pacific Theater don't work. And
Right. A little
yeah,
tougher.
yeah. So maybe that's why people don't pay as much attention to it. I don't know. It's interesting to me. I know that.
I never understood that. Is it possible that it's you know how do I want to put this? As far as my
Mhm.
understanding, during World War II, the Americans who were fighting against the Germans treated them in a much different fashion than the Americans who were fighting the Japanese. So I wonder if that kind of rolls over a little bit. Whereas, as far as the Americans were concerned, the Japanese were subhuman. you know, it was like they don't look like
Yeah,
us.
I
They
don't know.
they bombed us at Pearl Harbor, and then if you go to Europe, it was like, yeah, prisoners, yeah, prisoners of war, sure thing. Yeah, you look like me. You're European. Let's go. Whereas in the Pacific, a lot of times it was like, we don't take prisoners, man.
Yeah, I don't know.
Don't know.
I don't know. I do know that Japan, of course, had a different culture back then, and they approached war
Mm-hmm.
in a
Oh yeah.
more brutal way uh, than we did. And that I don't want to tend to be
Oh
a
yeah.
historian because too many game designers do that. I'm definitely not,
Right.
but I do know that the idea of taking prisoners was new to the Japanese. I think that
Oh, that's right.
and so once one of your friends gets, or you hear of somebody that's been shot trying to surrender, I would think that it would be human nature to be less merciful towards those people. I know that after in the Battle of the Bulge, after Dietrich's slaughter, about 3 or 4 days later, I'm trying to remember the name of the place, we slaughtered a lot of Germans. War sucks. That's what it comes down to.
War is all hell, right? Wasn't that what William Tecumseh Sherman said? War is all hell. Not war is hell. War is all hell.
It is. But with cardboard counters, it's just fine. Nobody gets hurt.
You're just pushing card. See, that's another aspect about wargaming that I don't think a lot of people understand. There's I don't know.
Yes, there is.
You know, I was going to say there's this thought out there for some gamers where, oh, if you play war games, well, you must be a warmonger, and it's like actually no. I think more people that I know who play war games are anti-war because we understand the history and we've actually read up on things, as opposed to people who are playing, oh, I don't know, like exploding kittens. So
that might be a tough parallel to make there. That exploding kittens players. I just
saw us exploding kittens out there.
No, I run into that all the time, and there's two things that bother me. I'm sure they bother any thinking person. That one, of course not. Playing a war game does not make me violent. They're pieces of cardboard. Enough said.
Right.
Two, the things that bothers me are war game designers that are apologists, that spend half a page to a page every design saying, I understand that war is violent. I just do this for the study of history. Screw that, dude. You're designing a game. Don't apologize for it. It's fine.
Right, exactly.
But that's part of it.
I've gotten comments on videos where it's like, oh, you're promoting war. And it's like, seriously, this is just cardboard counters. I have actually had YouTube demonetize videos that I have like war game coverage of.
Yeah.
And I've shot them messages saying, hey, excuse me, you've got millions of videos of people playing first-person shooters where blood's splattering all over the screen, even though it's fake, it's digital. And I'm like, I'm just covering a game about a battle in history, and it's cardboard counters, man. And they're like, oops, sorry.
Right, but I don't think that you're going to be able to stop that, and it'll probably get worse. I know that my friend JD at Matrix Games, I mean, his son Ian was just posting that they had taken off, I think it was Afghanistan 11, which is this simulation they have. Wow. A fairly in-depth simulation. You've played it?
And a really good game. It's a very good game.
I mean, off the App Store, because it depicts a historical war. And I know there are all kinds of other games.
It's anti-insurgency. Yeah. I said it's an anti-insurgency game.
Sure. And you know, so that happens. I think part of the thing that hurts the war game community are these things we're talking about. And then I recently played a game of Airfix Battles. I don't know if you've played that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Modifius Entertainment. Yeah. Chris Birch's game.
It's fun. Yeah. You know, I mean, I had a buddy, one of the guys that tested Kursk with me, came over 2 Saturdays ago, and we played like all afternoon. Played like 2 battles. Had a good time. And I was looking up some videos, maybe seeing if I could get a rules clarification, and I saw this guy, I don't know his name, and I'm not trying to trash him out personally, who reviewed it for Dice Tower like 2 years ago, okay? And some of the comments he made, and he was the war game reviewer for Dice Tower, and obviously this is not Rob Oren, who knows games now.
Right.
Some of the comments he made just showed that he didn't know much about what was going on in the war game community. He was referencing how nicely the rules were laid out in Airfix Battles, which is just fine. They're laid out nicely. as compared to a typical war game, which is just a gray block with decimals. And I go, dude, that might have been the way it was up to 1993, but in general, there are many companies that put significant money into hiring layout artists to make the rules look nice in war games. Those kind of things hurt war game community because people that have never bought a war game think, oh, those things sound really terrible.
Right. Right. It's like case point after case point. I don't want to have to deal with that.
Right. Of course, what's wrong with decimals? I always think of that too. I say, what's wrong if you say the exception would be opportunity fire 12.1.2? How tough is that? I mean, it tells you specifically where to look so you don't waste your time.
Right.
I don't know. I don't get that.
I know. I don't get it either. So let's move on. Let's talk a little bit about Tiny Battle Publishing, because Tiny Battle Publishing, you've got a variety of genres, a variety of different kind of game styles. They are Ziploc bag. They're not. We're not talking like micro game Ziploc bags, but
8.5 by 11
usually,
Ziploc. Yeah.
Yeah, right. They run about $25 usually for most of the games. Thereabouts. You've got some recent ones that you're really, in my opinion, maybe I'm wrong. You're really kind of opening up a whole box of candy of various different flavors, because you've got. We keep talking about Greg. Greg is Greg Porter, who designed Armageddon War. Didn't Greg Porter do Zombie War? Isn't that a Tiny Battle? You got Tango Down.
Yeah, Greg also did that.
Is, right, which is, I have to laugh because it's a house clearing game. It's modern. And I swear when I first started reading it, I thought it said house cleaning.
It did. I think we that may have been a press release or it may have been on our website. I'd have to go look. And then Greg, I asked Greg to write the website blurb because, I just have to get all the help I possibly can to keep both these companies moving forward. And then he wrote me back about 4 hours later going, oops, I think it's just house cleaning. He said, a thrilling game of house cleaning. I said, I don't know. That's a great idea.
But the funny thing is, I was like, I thought maybe I misread it.
You read it right. I believe we have it corrected everywhere now, but maybe we don't. I don't know.
So we've got, now Tango Down is on pre-order. Yep. So that's I guess is the only pre-order game that you're affiliated with.
Yeah,
right
we'll
now.
Ship that in. I can't imagine not shipping it in February. There's one more scenario to be tested. The art's finished for the game, and of course the way Tiny Battle works. Something new that I think we started that now there are two other companies at least that are doing the same thing is that these games are printed in what's called short runs by a digital printer. Now that doesn't mean I've got my desktop printer printing this stuff. No, it's all professional and die cut counters and all that kind of stuff. But they're done.
They don't look like the old Victory Point games.
No, not like that. And
which were fine. I was one of the few people who actually reviewed those back in the day, because everybody else was like, poo, those components just aren't all flashy and exciting. And I was like, yeah, but the games are damn good.
Exactly. And hopefully our components are kind of flashy. I mean, we paid some pretty nice graphic artists and.
Right, I was going to say that's why I'm mentioning it's not, when I say Ziploc, it's not like the old VPG titles.
No, although they certainly, as a matter of fact, I said we started. I think probably Victory Point started that whole idea. So the thing is it's kind of 180 out from Flying Pig. So what Flying Pig does is put out a couple of games a year, and they're super big, super deluxe. I hope everyone thinks they're super nice, but that's thanks. But that's everyone's entitled to their own opinion. Whereas Tiny Battle,
okay, then they stink. Okay, that's my opinion now. I changed it. I'm
I
just
know.
teasing. You're like, I'm like, oh, I think they're really good. And you're like, yeah, whatever, Jeff.
Anyhow, so whereas Tiny Battle, I mean, our object is to try to put out 10 to 14 games a year, but
Right.
they're Ziplocs, and
Yeah.
um, so far it works
They're
really
small
really well.
footprint. You can toss them. You can toss them in a backpack. You can toss them into a briefcase or messenger's bag, and just bring it along wherever you want. You could even probably stick it in most glove compartments.
Uh, some of them
So
could, yeah, if you had already punched out the counters, you could. Uh,
yeah,
but we do have so Tango Down will come out in February. I mean, it could be soon in February. It could be before the 15th. Also
sure.
releasing in February will be Donetsk, the Battle for the Airport, which is a reprint of the tactical.
Wasn't that in Ya?
Yes, that's a reprint of the game that was in Ya 9, and then coming up very soon. Uh, Maybe February, maybe it's not going to be February, maybe it'll be March, is uh, The Devils to Pay, which is another Herm Luttman design. And it's
Okay.
about the first day of Gettysburg. Uh, and it is gorgeous and it is super clever. And I think it's just people are going to love it. I know everything I've seen of it so far, I love.
Well, it's a Herman
Yes,
Luttman design, so I have to assume there's
yes.
chaos. There's chaos in it. Maybe a little chit pulling.
Yeah,
I wonder.
exactly. By the way, speaking of Herman, Invaders from Dimension X
Yep, I know where we're
is now
going.
on Steam.
Yes, it's for
Yes, it's
PC.
now in the App Store. So,
Oh, is it
yep, just
really?
came out this morning for iOS in the App Store. And this
Okay.
is uh, kind of just the tip of an iceberg of digital releases that we're going to have.
Right.
So,
And if I remember right, I think on Steam for PC, I think it's
correct,
$14.99.
Nintendo.
That's right. I know what I'm talking about here,
Yep,
usually.
it is excellent. I don't know what to say.
I gotta
As a publisher, all I can do is sit here and go, "Oh, it's excellent, man, it's great." But
right.
folks listening, I play a lot of PC games. I know what I'm talking about. This isn't the next XCOM, okay? But I played PC games that cost $15 that weren't
Right.
worth the
They weren't worth
yeah.
five.
And this game, I think, is
Or
definitely worth it.
weren't worth the time it took you to download it.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
So,
And I always have to laugh because Herman always reminds me that it's like, hey, you know what, Jeff, you're the reason why I designed Invaders from Dimension
oh,
X.
really?
Because yeah, you
Yeah.
didn't know that. Yeah, I said to Herman one time, I said, you know what, I'd like to see you design a game that's just complete utter chaos.
And that is definitely Invaders.
And yep, yep. So I think that's kind of funny. Mark, we have been talking for quite some time. We've been talking for about an hour. Are there any other items that you want to talk about, either from Flying Pig Games or Tiny Battle Publishing?
Well, I don't know. We are releasing, and again, this is very soon, within the next 2 weeks. It's what I was doing right as you called. I was proofing a rebooted version of Dark War that has even better looking counters, better looking map, and what people were telling me from the initial players was they wanted more backstory into this Dark
Right.
War era. So it has maybe a third longer book, and that's crammed with backstory and just streamlining and stuff like that. I'm super, Dark War and this role playing game, which is the first and probably only role playing game I'll ever design. Uh, I love playing it. As I was telling you, I think before we went on the air, Um,
Right.
it's of all the games I've designed, I would say it's one of the most played games by myself and friends of friends and their friends of friends that have wanted copies and that type of stuff. But then again, uh, that's the role playing community. It's also a skirmish game, which is a bit of a
Right.
hybrid. Um, so it comes with skirmish scenarios in it. You don't have to use the role playing rules at all. You can just use it as a man to man combat game. But yeah, I'm happy
With
about that.
with a little bit of this supernatural
There
mixed
is
in.
supernatural mixed in. I mean, it's based on the same war, the same era that World at War was about, and it's called Dark War now, just to keep any confusion. But yeah, it's a Third World War that is mixed in with some paranormal uh, elements to it.
Oh,
Yeah,
sweet. Very nice. I know there's been some talk. Hey, in the future, we might even get to see like some live streams of Dark War being played. I don't know. A little birdie was chirping in my ear, so
that would be fun.
I will definitely share that if that comes off.
Sure.
Any other final thoughts you'd like to share with the
No,
audience,
no.
Mark?
Thanks for talking to me.
You're like, no, I'm talked out, man.
No, no, I appreciate you talking with me. It's been a lot of fun, and I don't know. Any final thoughts? I would say is everyone get out there, tell everyone that you're a gamer, play games with other people, and if you have the smallest seed of an idea, go design it. Don't wait on anybody to tell you. Yes, you're a designer. Just start today and design a game.
You know, piggybacking on that, when I am at a variety of different conventions, usually Origins and
Hmm.
Gen Con, people will start like pitching ideas to me about their games and things like that. And amazingly enough, you have a lot of people, especially Gen Con, they'll actually get passes to go to Gen Con so they can try to pitch game ideas to like Fantasy Flight. That ain't
No, I
happening.
don't think so. They
But
should do
I,
the research a little bit better. Fancy Flat, I'm pretty sure does all
right.
in-house designs, but
Right. But I mean, they'll just go around to anybody like pitching games. And I'm like, do you have appointments? They're like, no. I'm like, have you reached out through email? No. I'm like, well, get ready for a lot of rejection. But I also tell them, don't go around pitching game ideas to everybody because guess what? Somebody will swipe that idea
it could
and
happen.
they will get a game published while you're still, messing around trying to get somebody else to do your work for you. So, anyway, Mark, it's always great to talk with you. I wanted to make sure that we sat down and chatted a bit because we normally only talk at Origins, and then you've got all this other
Yeah.
stuff coming out all throughout the
We
year.
do. We do. Got a lot of stuff going on. A lot of stuff.
Excellent. Mark, thank you very much once again, and try to stay warm because it's getting
It
pretty
is. It
frigid.
is. As a matter of fact, I think it's snowing outside right now.
Once again, a big thank you to my friend Mark H. Walker for joining me earlier today to talk not only about Flying Pig Games titles as well as Tiny Battle Publishing titles, but also the state of wargaming and some other things as well. That's one of the reasons why I always like talking with Mark because he's like me, he goes off topic a little bit, and that does make for a very interesting interview. All right, so that is it for tonight's show. Once again, I always like to point out that if you like the video, by all means, please give it a thumbs up. If you check out some of the videos on the Gaming Gang channel and you dig them, by all means, please subscribe. Also, hit that little bell that will notify you when a new video appears on the channel, as well as notify you when the stream goes live, because the show is normally live. I think this is the first time I've ever pre-recorded a show. So, pretty strange. Anyway, as I mentioned, no show tomorrow. It is going to be direly cold here in the Duct Tape Studios, but I will be back on Thursday. I will be reviewing the Living Land sourcebook for Torg Eternity from Ulysses North America. So please join me then. Anyway, until then, if you're in an area that's going to be experiencing this portal vortex, okay, polar vortex, Jeff. Portal vortex? What is this, science fiction? Anywho, if you are going to be experiencing the polar vortex like I am, stay safe. Don't go out there if you don't really have to. If it's not an emergency, stay inside, stay warm, stay safe. All right? Because that's what I'm planning on doing myself. All right, so I will be back on Thursday, and until then, as always, thank you very much for watching. Thanks again for watching The Daily Dope, presented by The Gaming Gang. If you like this episode, be sure to give it a quick thumbs up. And if you dig the channel, please subscribe. If you'd like to check out our previous episode, click right here. And if you want to check out a somewhat randomly selected episode, give a click right down here. It'll be like opening a box of Cracker Jacks. You just don't know what you'll get. Once again, thanks for watching, and I'm Jeff McAleer.